Well, I told you it's coming, and here it is. A quote from a World War II vet today at a town meeting with Republican Senator Charles Grassley of Iowa. Quote, catch this quote, in a public meeting today in the United States. Quote, the President of the United States, that's who you should be concerned about because he's acting like a little Hitler. I'd take a gun to Washington if enough of you would go with me. That's now reached the level. We've talked about this birther movement. We've talked about the gun carrying of people to these public meetings. We've put it all together. It's getting weird, and now someone has put it together verbally. The question is, when will they put it together actually? Jonathan Martin, Chuck Grassley stood through that, apparently did not demur.
Well, this is the second time that he has, basically enabled this kind of, rhetoric out there. Previously, of course, he had somebody talk about the whole death panel, and he basically added fuel to the fire by talking about not wanting to pull the plug on grandma. This, though, I was in Florida for 2 days last week. This is the kind of stuff that you hear increasingly at these town hall meetings, and especially in, sort of red America. People are really upset. The rhetoric is increasingly out of control, and I think this is only representative of what's happening, Chris, at a lot of places around the country.
Yeah, but there's a big difference. I mean, I think we have to draw the distinction between talking about death panels, standing by while people maybe misrepresent death panels, and talking about bringing a gun to Washington. I mean, that's the kind of talk that I would hope has the Secret Service on high alert, and frankly, I think is pretty shocking. Forget partisan stripes. That's the kind of talk that I don't think anyone finds acceptable, whether or not you agree with what Obama is doing. And comparing him to Hitler, certainly not good, but talking about bringing a gun, I think that's really pretty shocking.
It's getting close to law breaking. What I was struck by, Jonathan, is the fact that the guy who shot that armed guard, that great American who was defending the Holocaust Museum, that guy was a birther. These things are overlapped. These people that are sovereign power people, not every Second Amendment person, obviously. My brother's a Second Amendment person. A lot of people that believe in that It's how it's used. To bring guns to public meetings makes a statement about your sense that the government is the enemy. Enemy, not potentially, but is the enemy. Your thoughts on that, Ann?
Well, I mean, and especially after we've just had an actual election. I mean, this is not, it's sort of unimaginable at this point that he is seen in just a short span of time from, 8, however many months now that he's been in office, that he's gone from being the president who was elected with a higher percentage than previous presidents had been, is now being compared to a Nazi, compared to a fascist at some of these town hall events, and is the subject of this kind of violent talk. It's a kind of a sort of stunning development over such a short span of time.
Let me ask you, Jonathan, you study politics, both you two. At what point does the Republican Party have to be a party and not just a grab bag of crazy people to the right of center that's open to everybody? That when the big tent becomes a war party, when do you draw the line and say we're not in the same party anymore? Those people are outside. I mean, Bill Buckley, to his credit, said goodbye to the John Birch Society. He said goodbye to the anti-Semites on the right. He said you can't be calling yourself conservatives if you believe those things.
Right. Well, look, here's the issue. If the Republicans ride this wave of conservative, of sort of center-right unhappiness right now, and win these two governor's races this fall, if they make gains next year in the House and Senate, Chris, I don't think you're going to see any effort on their part to separate themselves from some of the anger that we're seeing. I think that they're going to embrace it. Now, obviously, they're going to have problems with the fringe, with the kind of folks that are talking about Hitler and bringing a gun to Washington, but I don't think they're going to learn any kind of lesson if they are gaining politically, Chris, in the next years ahead.
And they're dancing on the edge of big danger for the country.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think Jonathan's exactly right. Look, if it works, why would they stop doing it?
Because it's un-American.
Well, I would say after the...
I mean, it truly is. To talk about bringing down an elected government, bringing down our republic, basically, that's not conservative. That doesn't maintain our society. That doesn't hold us together. That's insurrectionist. And if that's what conservatism is today, they got it wrong. There's a difference between a revolutionary and a conservative. There just is.
Well, and I would think that members of both parties would have a respect for the office of the presidency, regardless of who's actually in it. But I think you're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan Martin. Thank you, Ann Kornbluh. Let's hope our concerns are not fully justified. Join us again tomorrow night at 5 and 7 Eastern for more.